I said that he had taken, and I was thinking about what she said, whenever I said that he had taken my team, I didn't mean that he pulled all my players off. He kicked me out, I was kicked out of coaching, and another coach was brought in for my team, because I didn't mind who I coached, I could care, I mean, good, bad, it didn't matter to me. But I was thinking about what she said, that's why I just want to clarify.
Anyone else?
Can I just piggyback on something Ms. Ward said? It should be about the kids.
Yes, sir. Please stand.
Okay, thank you. We had a championship football game, midget league, Bulldogs versus Gators. You guys ever get a chance to watch the press, see the press on paper? You see the Gators there with a nice, pretty team picture, their medals and their championship trophy. But you don't see anything from the second place Bulldog team. We were not recognized after the game. They have a blank spot in the newspaper, no picture available. When we all were standing there, me and 17 kids, plus cheerleaders, were standing right there on the field. The rec director, excuse me, y'all, and walked past us. If it's about the kids, it shouldn't be just about the kids in soccer and baseball. It should be about the kids total in every sport. Not only was the football kids, the football players, not recognized, not even acknowledgement, say thank you guys for a nice season, thank you for signing up, but we talking about cheerleaders as well. You know, that's my biggest complaint. You know, our rec director does not follow policies. He says it's in policy, he doesn't have to do it, but it's been done for 100 years. These kids see you recognizing the second place team, regardless if it's two teams. Well, we don't recognize the second place team, but I beat Coach Dillinger the year before in the championship was only two teams. He was recognized first before the championship team was. It's got to be about the kids, and we need a rec director that's going to be for the kids. You know, it's not fair for a championship team, football team, to get soccer medals. Come on, guys. You know, he's known they had football teams for months now. He could have ordered those dollar medals forever. It's not about the dollar. It's about these kids. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Right. You didn't have to throw it, but you beat me.
I did beat you, but it's okay.
Swords, and I've coached soccer for the last 3 years, and my children have played rec sports for 13 years. My children and myself have great respect for Justin and for Susan, and coaching for the last 3 years, if we had a problem, which rarely we did, I would go to Justin or Susan, and it was taken care of in a timely manner. We played football, softball, baseball, basketball, soccer. If the rec department offered it, my children were there for it, and they've had a great time. Justin has been nothing but respectful towards me and my children for coaching and just being a parent on the field. And they've had a great time. And I don't know where a lot of this is coming from, but we admire Justin and we respect what he's doing in this program. And I appreciate it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Like the other coaches, Mr. Davis has been a good person to me. I've coached soccer for like 5 years. I played soccer with the rec department when I was a kid too. They were saying about the newspaper. Since I've been coaching, I've been in like 4 or 5 championships, and each time they were put on the newspaper as a runner-up. I was a runner-up like 3 or 4 times. Last year there was a person that commented about all-star picks. We won the soccer championship last year, and they commented that they would fix how my team got like 6 kids picked, and you know we were champions because I had a good team. I had a clean draft. All the coaches, you know, they picked the kids and all that. And it was disturbing how they say that the kids were picked because of like they fixed the draft or whatever. No, that's not the way it goes. But everything I told Mr. Justin, he's helped me out with everything we needed. One day we didn't have no lights practicing the field, he called him up, he sent somebody out there right away, you know, so we could have soccer practice. And all I had from him and his staff was all positive stuff.
Thank you very
I'm
much.
not a good speaker, so I'm sorry.
Hey, appreciate it, Mr. Moran. Thank you, sir.
Hello, I'm Jacob Dennison. I'm born and raised here. I've played here my whole life. I've always seen the good, bad, and the ugly. And the ugly is always the parents. It ain't ever the kids, it's always the parents. And now that I'm older, I have a chance to be the ugly one. But I see it, I've always seen it. And as long as there are people playing on kids' teams and people playing against people, there'll always be bickering and arguing. I grew up playing with the Scott twins. Now me and Jonathan coach a team together. That's not necessarily because we want a stacked team, which he's only, pee-wee. But even if he gets older, it's not necessarily because we want a stacked team. It is because me and Jonathan grew up playing together, and now we want a chance to coach together. I don't look at it as something that's unfair. I look at it as, not only is Wayne County my home, but I have family here. Whether they're blood or whether or not, I have family here. And every time I've ever had a problem, I don't go to a coach. I don't go to an official. I call JD firsthand. And JD, I had an incident. My little boy hit his head on a cable they had put up. And I called JD and I was like, JD, listen, I'm not mad, no big deal. My little boy scratched his face, hit a cable. They had just put it up that day. The very next day, it had a pipe over it covering the cable. And ever since then, it's been good. But every time I ever have a issue, I call JD firsthand, and he handles it. No big deal. So I'm proud of him. I'm proud of the things he's doing in Wayne County. And listen, Wayne County is my home. Whether you get some guy we know or some guy we don't know, there's always going to be problems. But that's just part of life. But I'm proud of you, JD. Good job, buddy.
Thank you, Mr. Dennison.
How y'all doing? Name's Scott Flores. I moved up here 5.5 years ago in Jacksonville, Florida. I used to coach my son out Jacksonville baseball. And coming up here, I've been trying to help assistant coach a little bit, get in the game with everybody and learn the ways around here. 2 seasons I coached with Jake Davis. And last season I coached with Justin Purcell. Now, I don't know the issues behind that. I hear a lot of talk everybody has. The whole thing that went about the whole All-Stars when we won the championship. My thing was taking that Justin's going to call me up and we get the coach team together. They went up to go do their picks. I finally called coach 2 days later. Hey, what's going on? They had an ordeal. They decided to take a couple other guys, take the team over. They got kicked out for some incident that happened a season before that was not taken care of that season. New season comes up. The whole team got penalized for this. The kids, not just whatever happened with the adults. That's not my issue. I don't care about that. Thing is there's a lot of stuff going on the fields, with coaches, their attitudes. Like you said, we go back to the rules. And the rule states that tolerance ain't going to be taken. And when I see kids out there hollering at these kids, not even just their own, of course, the ones that have their own, get a little bit more violent. It is not right. Of course, we play for Odom. And going out there, I know this is more of an Odom issue. Having no umpires for a few games is ridiculous. Had 2 kids out there fist fight in the same game. We didn't even have an umpire to address this issue. Now, I don't know what it's going to take to go about making things better. And the same thing of drafting. I've been out there doing the drafting. Your kid, you pick your kid, the whole rotation, they skip you. Going out there and having these kids that don't go try out because a coach doesn't want it, yes, it happens. I have seen it here. I know it happens. If there's any way that we can just address these issues and make it right. And that's my biggest thing. I just want it for the kids. When I get out there on the ball field, I tell parents, I'm gonna try to get into head coaching here shortly. When you're on the field, you're on my kids. If it takes 2-3 games, 2-3 practices, and you get me to pick out my kid, that's what I want, because you're all mine. So just to help grow with the community, I like to see something happen, just make it better.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Any board members? Any statements? Like to share, concern? Mr. Davis?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes, sir.
Starting from the top, Mr. Donald Dillinger came up and was talking about the coach selection process. We do have, at Wayne County Parks and Recreation, we do have a coach selection process policy that we do go by. At that time, Coach Trevor Wallace had came forward to the Parks and Rec Department and said that he would like to coach in that league. And Trevor Wallace has had more years of coaching experience than Mr. Dillinger. And we reviewed that process, we reviewed that policy. I brought it before the county administrator at the time, Mr. Jason Tinsley, went over it with him, went over it with my Parks and Recreation staff, Operations Supervisor Susan Nash, and the policy was actually read and reviewed by several different people and was interpreted in several different ways. So we elected to go with the part of the policy that states that if you have more coaching experience than the other one that wants a team. In other words, we we only go to this policy when we have more coaches than we do teams. And we elected to go with the part of the policy that states that it is given to the coach that has more years of coaching experience within the Wayne County Parks and Recreation Department. So that was the decision that's been made. That was why that decision was made there. Also, moving on to number 2, Ms. Rhonda Wright, talking about ADA compliance. We know that that is an issue at all of the older facilities that we currently maintain and operate. Bill Morris Park is atrocious when it comes to ADA compliance. That is not something that came about yesterday. That's something that's been an issue for ever since the park was built, essentially. And it is in the plan of our master plan to have everything ADA compliant. And Wayne County as a whole does have an ADA compliance plan. And, unfortunately, I do not get to set the priorities on that plan. That's something that is decided by the county administrator and the Wayne County Board of Commissioners. So, and of course, that is very constricted to the budget and what the budget will allow to do. I'm not an ADA compliance genius by any means, but from what I've always been told, if you go to make any type of renovations or anything of that nature to a facility, then that is when you have to address those ADA compliance issues. Otherwise, it doesn't really have to be addressed by law. But when we do develop the master plan and we start updating these facilities, of course, everything will be ADA compliant. And that was one of the key components when we were in discussions with Precision Planning of putting the master plan together. That was one of the number one factors. And obviously, a company like Precision Planning that's drawn up several of these plans for several different municipalities all over the state of Georgia and other states included, they know and are aware that ADA compliance is something that has to be met and complied with. So, in regards to that, we're working on that. Again, I don't set the priorities of how those tasks are, completed. That's something that, when that issue came about, I brought it with, again, my process was to discuss it with staff and then take it to the county administrator's office and discuss it with him. He told me to get with Mr. Chris Griffiths, which is the code compliance officer for Wayne County. I brought it to his attention. He is fully aware that, that issue needs to be tackled. However, it just wasn't something that was up slab that was poured. And in regards to the Ben Park complex, it is fully ADA compliant. Just because in order to be ADA compliant, you don't have to have a platform connected to the aluminum bleachers. You just have to have a hard surface from the parking lot to next to the seating area when it comes to ball fields and things of that nature. So as far as that, the Ben Park complex is fully ADA compliant. Babe's Mighty Mike's complex is fully ADA compliant with ADA compliant bathrooms. Bill Morris Park, obviously, it's got a lot of issues. Even the soccer complex. I mean, anybody with, any kind of sense about them can look at that complex and see that it's not ADA compliant. I mean, it's, when you get out of the car, it's the big rocky ditch that you have to navigate to get to the fields. And then, of course, it's no hard surface anywhere except right around the concession stand. So that's something that also needs to be addressed. And, with the help of the board, I would love to address, start tackling some of those issues as quickly as possible. But again, that is something that you all can help me with from, being an advisory board. We can make recommendations to the county commission board and then even further to the county administrator. Moving down to Mr. Terrell Randolph, talking about the midget football league numbers and just inconsistency with staff. I think the specific situation that he's referring to is prior to the fall season of 2014, unfortunately, we received some background checks on some coaches that didn't enable them to continue coaching, and there were some spots that had to be filled. I elected to step in reluctantly and take over a 7 and 8 year old football team. I knew that it was going to cause some possible issues right off the bat from being the coach of that team and the director of the Parks and Recreation Department. But we just wanted to make sure that the kids had an opportunity to play. So I elected to step in and tried to meet with the parents and, some of the daddies on that team and try to get somebody to step forward and just kind of take over the role as being the head coach. Due to people's, work schedules and things of that nature, no one was able to step up and be the head coach. So I elected to stay with that. Out there during the course of the game, Coach Peel can tell you, if you don't have some good assistant coaches on the sideline, making sure that you're shuffling people in at the proper times and things of that nature, it's hard for you to be out there trying to conduct an offense and conduct a defense with 7 and 8 year olds and making sure that the players get in like they're supposed to. And, that was something that I was relying on those quote-unquote assistant coaches, but really just dad helpers on the sideline to step forward and make sure of. And, was there some times that they may not have did the best job of that? Absolutely. And, was it ultimately my responsibility as the head coach? Absolutely. But I kept addressing it with them and telling them, we need to make sure these kids get equal amount of playing time, and we need to make sure that we're following by the rules and guidelines that, we put out. And, we tried our best to do that, and I'm sure we fell short, throughout the course of that season. But at the same time, I was also coaching, or helping coach rather, my own son's U6 soccer team. So it was a very busy time, me trying to be a father to my child and coach his soccer team, and then also filling in as the head coach over there. Really didn't feel like I was able to do the team justice as far as dedicating my time to it. Football is my strongest passion, as most of you know. But we just wanted to give those kids an opportunity to play, and none of the parents were willing to step forward and take over the role with that. So, and then in regards to the midget football numbers, I would recommend to the board and all members of the public today that have come forward, please do your homework. Look around. That's not a Wayne County problem. That is a state of Georgia problem. That is a national problem. There's every municipality in the state of Georgia that offers 11 and 12-year-old football is seeing a tremendous drop in numbers. Specifically speaking, Douglas Coffee County no longer even offers the program. Ware County had to change their league to a 7-on-7 league so that they would have at least 4 teams to put together a schedule. So that is something that I don't feel like is specifically a Wayne County problem or a Wayne County Parks think there's a lot of different variables that are dropping the numbers in football. Coach Grooms, I'm sure you could comment on this as well. Football numbers, the NFL has stepped forward and they're seeing a significant drop in numbers just all over the nation. They're developing programs, USA Football, Heads Up Football, trying to educate people more on concussion awareness and stuff of that nature, trying to get the numbers up. So, I mean, that's a way bigger issue than just right here from Wayne County. And just moving on down, going back to Coach Dillinger, came up and said that he said the team was not taken from him, but and then he was not offered another team. We actually asked Coach Dillinger, because we were short some flag football coaches and stuff of that nature, if he would take over and coach one of those teams, and he would not. And we told him that there was other places that we'd love to get him involved with, and he wanted to stick with the 11 and 12-year-old league. He wanted his team back, which is understandable. Again, referring to that coach selection policy, we had people that were not even involved in Parks and Recreation, just totally not even a dog in the fight, read the policy and state what they think that it meant. And, there was it was interpreted several different ways. So again, at the time, we went to, we based it off of in general staff, the way they interpreted the policy, and then we went to the county administrator, the way he interpreted the policy, and that was the decision that was made. So,
I have a question about that.
yes, sir.
Again, I asked you, just like I did about the baseball issue, he's not good enough to coach here, but he's good enough to coach here. Who makes that decision? Who actually makes that decision? You, Tinsley, or whoever, or your staff? Who makes the decision?
In the future, if we ever have,
Who made those decisions?
well, I mean, ultimately,
Not in the future. Who made that decision? That he's not good enough here, but he is good enough here.
again, it wasn't based on whether he was good or not, or good enough or not. It wasn't based on his ability to coach or not to coach. It was simply based on the fact that there was more coaches than there were teams, and we had to make a decision based on what the policy that we had in our hand at the time stated. We took.
We is you and Tinsley and staff.
Correct. We took the policy to several different, like I said, people. It was interpreted several different ways, and based on the overall agreement of staff, myself, and county administrator and stuff, those all those people involved, then that was what the decision was based off of.
Mr. Davis, did Mr. Wallace already have a football team the prior season?
The prior season, not in that particular league, but he was moving up from the 9 and 10-year-old league to that league. So he had been coaching.
Would it not have been beneficial, hindsight's 20/20, we all make mistakes, would it not have been beneficial to allow him to stay where he had been coaching and where he is most experienced?
Well, again, his son was moving up to the 11 and 12-year-old league, and he wanted to continue to coach his son. And again, his years of experience were greater than Coach Dillinger's years of experience with coaching with Wayne County Parks and Rec. So again, that was, all those things were taken into consideration. So, and I think that was it. Moving down to Coach Flores, he was speaking about the Purcell issue, which we covered in the last called meeting. Coaches' attitudes, and no umpires in Odom on a couple of different times, and then the draft process. Okay, so as far as the coaches' attitudes, again, all of our coaches are certified through the National Alliance of Youth Sports, NAYS for short. We make them sign a code of ethics at the beginning of each year. That's generally all we can do. I mean, we can't vouch for the way everybody is going to act once they get into a competitive environment. And it's unfortunate that some coaches have bad attitudes, and we take those things into consideration, and tell people to we always tell parents, we're like, listen, if something's going on, you need to come to us sooner rather than later until it becomes a bigger issue, so that we can address it with the coach and tell him, hey, we're getting some complaints about this and that, they come about. But we do have the coaches go through that certification program through that National Alliance of Youth Sports organization. They sign that code of ethics, and then we kind of just, let them do their thing. And we're always there for, to talk to them and let them know some of the things that we're hearing. And, we try not to, throw anybody under the bus in that regard, because, parents are fearful that their kids might not get to play if they're known as a complainer and stuff like that. So we try to be very, we try to take that in consideration when we talk to them. And then as far as the no umpires in Odom, again, we elected to go with the South Georgia Officials Association, or Umpires and Officials Association. Forget the technical, they've had a couple different names. And that was something that ultimately was their responsibility, because they were contracted through the Wayne County Parks and Recreation Department to provide officials for all games in Jessup and in Odom. And there was, for whatever reason, I don't know, with the assigner and the umpire that was supposed to be there, there was a miscommunication on a couple of different occasions. We addressed that as soon as we heard about it and found out about it and were made aware of it. We tried to scramble and rally some troops and get some folks out there to take care of it. However, it just didn't work out, and we didn't know about it until after the game was already in progress. That's when we were made aware that there was no umpires there. And I think in one of the cases, the game was already over until it was brought to my attention. And again, that was addressed as soon as we were made aware of it with the South Georgia Officials Association, and told them, that it didn't need to happen again. However, it did happen again, and all those things are taken into consideration when that contract comes up for renewal. And
Do you have like a policy that, because this is gonna happen, and it'll happen next year and the next, some people are just incompetent sometimes, they make mistakes. So do you have something,
yeah,
do you guys have something
we have,
ready to roll if that happens?
well, currently we're in a 2-year contract with them. The issue with that, and I'll just speak on this briefly, the issue with the Umpires and Officials Association is, at the time, I can't remember exactly what time, I think it was in 2013, I was before the Board of Commissioners for a budget hearing, and they made it very aware and apparent to me that they wanted something to change as far as the way we go about getting our umpires and officials to do our games. And I brought up the fact that most recreation departments in our district go through associations. And I said, however, that's going to cost the county more money to be able to go through an association. And at the time, the current Board of Commissioners, and I believe it was the chairman at the time, stood up and said he didn't care how much it cost, there needed to be a change. So I started doing my research, started doing my homework, went out and started getting in contact with some of these associations that were doing it for these other agencies in our district. And they basically said they didn't have the manpower to accommodate Wayne County because of the just sheer number of games and things that we have. And we kept going back and forth. It went on for the course of about a year. Just me trying to research that and get an association to come in. And there's, Coach Grooms can probably speak on this too. There's a different association for every sport, and it's just it's a crazy process to try to get acquired for a community, and especially for recreation, because recreation games pay the least, and umpires and officials don't want to have to drive for that. It's an ongoing problem that we're faced with umpires and officials. So we finally got sat down with Mr. Jesse Dennison and Mr. Reese, and we talked to them about it, and we came up with a solution that if we could basically add in a lot of the guys that we have here currently calling for Wayne County Parks and Rec to that association, that we could probably make it work that way. And the overall thought process behind that was they'll have to go through a certain certification process. They'll have to learn. They'll be certified officials instead of just officials. And we're still working with them, trying to perfect that, trying to get more training for these guys. We It's an ongoing thing that we're always working with. I've already reached out to South Georgia Official Association this year and told them we wanted to have a more extensive, more intensive training for the officials. So we're working, trying to get something in the works on that. So, again, that's something that was in their control. It was unfortunate what happened in Odom, and it was addressed with the association. So, and then,
Can I comment on this?
Absolutely.
Say something. A lot of the problems we hear come from you not being around when there's an issue. And you tell us that there was no umpires up there and a game was already over with before you knew about it.
in Odom, correct.
Nobody tried to call you before that game got started to let you know there was no umpires up there?
No, sir.
Yes, sir, they did.
Tried numerous times while we was on the field practicing with our kids before the game.
And how are we to know before that the umpire's not gonna be there? I mean, we get there the allotted time before our game. Are we supposed to know that they're not gonna send them? They were supposed to call 2 hours before the game and say, well, can you please try to make sure you have an umpire here?
Well, again, I think that, with that,
I mean, I understand that's not, it's not him, it's
well,
not
it
you.
pains me to say this, but, you know, I've lived that circus too. But, you know, there are some policies and protocols you put in place to make sure that doesn't happen. And, you know, what we've tried to do at Wayne County High School, regardless of what type of sporting event we have going on, we try and notify that official association the day of the event and make sure they have this covered, this covered, this covered, this covered, this covered, and this covered. And, you know, as a matter of fact, I spoke with them today because I felt like it'd be pretty embarrassing to have 8 basketball teams show up. We didn't have any officials there to be in Ratliff Arena. So we tried to make sure that was, tried to make sure that